I do want to do one more little reading, and I'm going to be reading from this book, and it is saying Divine Messengers. I'm going to flip to a random page. I do not know. I have my eyes closed, and here we go. So no, let's see, here we go. Okay. Meeting Jimmy. In 2007, while I sat in a session at a writers conference, the speaker, author, and psychic Victoria Laurie made a comment about deadlines. It's not like you can tell your editor that your Uncle Jack died and you need an extension. Everyone in the room laughed. I felt a chill run down my spine. After the session, I found Victoria in the hall and approached her. We said hello to each other, and I began. It's really strange. I have an Uncle Jack who died, and I used his death to gain a much needed extension on a book deadline. Victoria smiled at me. I continued. Worst of all, I didn't go to the funeral, but used the time to finish my book. He was your uncle. I wondered where that comment came from, she said. Victoria went on to do a brief psychic reading and answered my nagging question about how my uncle felt about me using him like that and not attending his funeral. He found it funny, by the way, and was glad to be of service. He had said to us many times throughout his life, "Come visit me while I'm alive, not after I'm dead." Victoria had said she wouldn't be giving any psychic readings during her weekend at the writers' event. She was there as an author and facility member, not a psychic. I felt honored to have received my mini reading with my uncle. At the conclusion of the conference events, a few days later, many of us who attended agreed to meet at a hotel bar for a farewell drink. As I approached our small group, which was spread out at tables and bars, I saw Victoria had saved me. Eyes. Oh, okay. She had saved me eyes. I asked her and another woman if I could join them. Victoria seemed pleased, the other woman unhappy. Turns out the woman was trying to finagle a reading out of Victoria. My joining them ended the conversation. After a few minutes and without comment, Victoria shifted seats at our table and sat directly across from me. She said, "Your family is incredibly loud." I laughed. You have no idea how loud my family can be. I thought of all the family get-togethers that were always a ruckus, mix of laughter and fights. "No, your family on the other side," Victoria said. "They're not giving me any choice but to share the message they have for you." She proceeded to do a 45-minute reading that centered around my paternal grandparents and primarily my grandfather, someone I'd always wanted to meet. Do you know the party game where you're asked if you could have any 3 people at dinner, living or dead? Who would they be? My first choice was always my grandfather. The other 2 might change, but my grandfather was always first. I was born in February of 1966 and he died in December of the same year. I was the only grandchild in our family with no memory of the man. I'd always felt some draw to know or understand him. I spent a lot of my life wondering about my grandfather and asking about him. No one offered much information. My own father hadn't been close to his father and he rarely talked about him. Grandpa died many years before my grandmother, but whenever anyone brought him up around her, she'd always get teary-eyed. So we all avoided talking about him around her. The bits and pieces I managed to pick up and put The bits and pieces I managed to pick up over the years didn't really fit together well. And yet I felt that drive to know him that I could never explain. At the end of the psychic reading, Victoria said, "Now I know why I had to come to this conference. I rarely attend conferences, but something urged me to be here for this one. Obviously, it was to connect with you, with your grandfather." Chills ran down my spine. When the reading was over, I looked around. The woman I'd saved Victoria from was nowhere to be seen. For a second time that weekend, I had been honored with a reading from Victoria Laurie. I was so pleased when she came to the conference too. I brought her another drink and offered to pay her reading fee. She accepted the drink but refused the fee. When I got home from the conference, I called my father's sisters. I shared what I had learned from the psychic author. My aunt, surprised I knew so little of him, in turn told me many more stories about my grandfather. I'd always thought of him as James, but it turns out he wasn't so formal and went by Jimmy. As other stories came out, I discovered that I had taken on many of his traits over my own lifetime, down to the clothes I liked to wear and the food and beverages I preferred. Like him, I spent many years as a heavy smoker, a habit I've since kicked. In the process of trying to know him, I've become a musician as he had been. Unlike him, I turned a hobby into a career for 10 years and got to travel the world, something he always wanted to do. He worked in the train yards his whole life but never traveled more than 100 miles from his home. Among the things Victoria shared with me that Saturday night was the fact that my grandfather now spent a lot of time looking over my shoulder, especially when I write. He likes when I write humor pieces the most. And he is incredibly proud of me. At this moment, like that moment when Victoria shared the sentiment, a wonderful flood of love and emotions rushes over me, accompanied by light tingles throughout my body. The difference today is that I know that rush of feeling is an energetic hug from my beloved and long departed grandfather, Jimmy. That was nice, you guys. So from that reading, I got, hey, you know what? I feel like your ancestors really trying to talk to y'all. They're trying to tell y'all whatever it is that you want to do, just do it, you guys. I'm telling you, it's nothing wrong with doing what it is that you're wanting to do. Just as long as you're doing something positive, you guys, I'm telling you, God has your back, guys. Do it. Your ancestors are rooting for you guys. Yes, they are sending you loves, hugs, and tingles and kisses from the universe, you guys. I hope that this reading resonated with someone out there. I hope that you found my reading interesting. If so, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. And I'll see you guys in the next reading. And peace.